In this video, I want to share with you some tips that I'm pretty confident are going to accelerate your bass playing or any other instrument that you're trying to learn or get better at. Trust me, learning how to master an instrument can be incredibly rewarding, but just like anything else in life where there's a great reward, there's also a lot of frustration that can come along with that. We live in a world now where we have a lot of information. It's easy to get distracted by, different shiny objects and varying levels of advice. But mastering an instrument or just getting better at an instrument, seeing progress, doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm going to share with you 5 tips that can accelerate your path to mastery. Tip number 1 is to learn the music that you love. There is a reason why you picked up your instrument. This is a bass guitar channel, so mostly bass players watch, but this applies to guitar players, piano players, anybody. There's a reason there was some song, some artist, something that inspired you to pick up the bass. So learn the music that you love. Think about it. Children, all of us, every last one of us, and if you watch my content, you know that this is something that I've said quite a bit because it is very, very true, and it's easy to lose sight of this fact. It doesn't matter your country of origin, where you grew up, what your first language is. We all kind of learn by watching and listening to the people around us, the sounds around us. We started making sound. And so that's the first step, is what are you attracted to? What is the sound? If Flea is the bass player that you like, going straight to Marcus Miller to learn Marcus Miller licks may not be the best path. It can be a part of that path, but you know what I'm saying? Or playing jazz bass may not be the thing that gets you excited. And if you don't stay inspired or excited, well, you're not going to stick to it. In this same area, I'm going to say something very important. Learn how to tune your instrument. If you're playing a stringed instrument, a fretted instrument, learn how to tune that instrument. That's basic. Don't waste a lot of time. Learn how to tune that thing. Learn what it sounds like in tune. Learn how to do that. Also, in the same area, don't worry so much about technique. Yes, technique is important. Yes, and we don't want to develop bad habits, and I'm not encouraging you to just do things willy-nilly. What I am saying, though, is that, think about kids again. When we are children, we're not thinking about the ABCs or proper, we're just mimicking and trying to get sound. And so get sound, right? Learn how to get a good sound out of your instrument. Play in tune. Listen to the music that you love and that inspires you, and just make some sound. The next thing I would say is learn the landscape of your instrument. Now I'm going to speak directly to bass players here. If you are struggling with your, learning the fretboard, I've got a free 6-day bass reboot that's linked below. You can sign up to that, and I've got some cool exercises for learning the notes all over the neck. It's free. Learn the landscape of the instrument. Well, how do you do that? Well, one of the ways that, if you're trying to learn songs, that's all in that process. That's also going to help you to learn the landscape of the neck. Are there formal exercises and things like that? Yes, but think about it like compound movements. If you're learning a song that you love and using that song as a teaching vehicle or a learning vehicle to learn the neck, you're kind of feeding 2 birds with 1 stone, right? The next thing that I would say is find every opportunity that you can to play with other people, especially if you're playing bass. Yes, we have, the bass guitar has progressed, and, people do a lot of solo stuff with bass, but bass traditionally is a supportive instrument, and it can be tricky I find that it can be tricky to learn it out of context. So, playing with like-minded people is one of the best ways to learn, feed off of other people's ideas, learn what's working, what's not working in a real setting. This could be church, this could be jam bands. I know some areas have those, School of Rock camps and different things like that. Get into those things, right? So you can see how the instrument is working in a real context. If you can't do that, at the very least, play along with recordings. I that cannot be understated. Play along with recordings. While I'm saying this, with regard to playing with other people, you gotta dare to suck. You gotta not be afraid of sounding bad or sucking. You gotta just not be afraid of that. That's it. Dare to suck. Now, once you've kind of got those other balls in motion, right? You don't have to wait until after. You can do this at the same time. You want to focus on the basics. Basics. I am talking specifically to bass players right now. That's the instrument I play, so I'm gonna talk about that. You want, obviously, to have a solid foundation, a solid understanding of rhythm, right? Your whole notes, quarter notes, half notes, things like that. You want to have a good sense of rhythm and time. Basic diatonic harmony. I'm not going to cover that right now because that's not really the nature of this video, but major scale, the major pentatonic scale, the minor scale, minor pentatonic scale, arpeggios in the major scale, right? We want to find context, right? We don't want to just learn arpeggios willy-nilly. We want to see how they work in the context of a scale. Right? Every scale has 7 notes. Each one of those notes creates a chord or a mode. How do the arpeggios work within that scale? Those chords from those chords in the major scale or minor scale, depends on the context, right? Those are what songs are made of, right? Those are the building blocks of music. So we want to know that. Also, we want to focus on the physical mechanics of playing. Well, let me talk about that for a second. Earlier, I said, don't focus so much on technique. Now, I didn't say, I'm not implying that you should just ignore technique. I'm saying that in the beginning, you should get a good sound. Well, you should make sound. And as you start doing all these other things, you're focusing on the technique within learning these things. So you're not going to, play arpeggios in the major scale with horrible technique. You're going to use those like compound movements. An example that I like to use is if you were in the gym doing close grip push-ups, right? That exercise is not only going to work the chest, but it's also going to work the triceps as well. So that's what I'm talking about. So when you're learning all these things, then we start focusing on the mechanics of playing and making sure that those are tight. I hope that makes sense. The next thing that we need to do is practice. You have to practice. I know we all get busy, especially adults. We have all sorts of different responsibilities, but there's no getting around practice. And if you can't find 30 minutes in your day, this is no judgment, but this is like, we have to maybe reevaluate what's important. Private teachers don't always like to say that kind of stuff because, private students are, income. It just is what it is, right? And so if you come to a private teacher and you're paying them and you don't practice, well, they will continue to take your money because they're, I hate sounding like a hater, but they got to eat. So what does it matter if you don't practice? But you have to practice. If you want to get better, you have to practice. So what should you practice? Number one, there is no one size fits all. I'm just going to give you some ideas here. So there's just no getting around practicing. And let's talk about what that might look like. Remember, there's no one size fits all, but I think this is a good kind of blueprint. Okay, so check it out. First, warm up. This could be something slow, scales, finger exercises, something in that area, right? But slow, deliberate, just to get your mind in the space of practicing. The second thing after that is we're going to learn new material, focus learning. So there's a difference between learning and practicing. Learning is the acquisition of new skills. Practicing is reinforcing those skills. So the next sort of column is going to be focused learning. After that, you guessed it, practice. Then you practice what you've learned. You add the metronome, add the backing track. Are you working on speed? Well, gradually increase the tempo, things like that, right? That's a lot of information that could be put into that one area. So I'm not going to give it all to you right now because it varies, right? So after that, you can focus on projects, something, you may, like I used the church example, right? You may be playing in your church band. Work on the material for Sunday, right? Or if you're playing in a cover band, work on a song or two songs in a short time, tricky parts, whatever, work on that. So warm up, focus learning, practice, we'll call them projects, and then cool down or review. So you can review something from before or whatever. You can also put this review in the beginning of your practice routine. So you could warm up, review something from a previous practice session, then focus learning, practice. You get the picture. The point is that learning an instrument, getting better on an instrument it can be challenging, and it will be challenging from time to time, but there is no getting around practice. But we have to turn things off. Including my videos. I hate to say that, but hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? You have to, I'm guilty of it myself. I've been guilty of it at several stages of my life where it's like, you're just not practicing. You're not in the shed. You're not acquiring new skills. You're not learning anything new. And so, or you're not exploring the things that you love, what drew you. I'm guilty just like anybody else, right? I get distracted. I've got responsibilities, yada, yada. So it doesn't, those things will happen, but it doesn't have to be that hard. It just takes a little bit of focus, right? A lot of people who watch my channel are, adults with careers, other responsibilities, all those things. But this is so doable, especially if you're not like trying to make a career or a living as a bass player, as a musician. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but most people don't wake up at in their 50s and say, I'm gonna be a professional touring musician, right? You might be different. You might do that, but on average, most people don't do that. They want to enjoy playing the instrument. They want to enjoy picking up the instrument. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, and above, and you want to play the bass, you want to play the bass. Victor Wooten got some heat about, kids don't want to practice, they want to play. He's right. So do adults. So I don't, I've seen people take that out of context, but I don't believe that's what he's saying at all. You can combine the two, right? So anyway, leave your comments below. Let me know some things that you're struggling with, some questions that you might think that I have an answer for. I would love to see those. Also, don't forget to go over to grooveschool.co/6-day. I'll link it below and grab that 6-day bass reboot. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. Two fingers.